Welcome to this episode of 10 Minutes with Sam, and this is Akshat Singh. Our guest for today is Mr. Shyam Saran. A career diplomat, Mr. Saran served as the Foreign Secretary to the Government of India. Our conversation today is part of a series on former Prime Minister PV Narasimha Rao. For those of you who don't know, we recently started observing the beginning of the centenary celebrations for PV Narasimha Rao's birth anniversary. And today we'd be speaking with Mr. Saran on his experiences serving Prime Minister PV Narasimha Rao. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, the format of the show is fairly simple. We have 10 minutes and we'll try talking as much as we can in that period of time. So without wasting much time, let's get right to it. So my first question to you is, we know that PV Narasimha Rao headed the country's government during a very tumultuous period of time. It was the end of the Cold War. We were facing a severe economic challenge. What do you remember about his leadership and about his steering of the ship during that time?
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on this show again. I served as Joint Secretary in the Prime Minister's office, handling external affairs, defense, public and from about 1990 to 92. And as you said, this was a very critical period because in the external field, something that had been a kind of a predictable and very significant component in India's external relations, which was the strategic partnership with the then Soviet Union. Very important, support for India in terms of its external challenges that it was facing. Support that we received, for example, on the Kashmir issue in the United Nations Security Council, and also a tremendous amount of economic support, particularly for the development of India's infrastructure and industry. Now, suddenly, overnight almost, that strategic partnership almost evaporated. That was a very big challenge. Secondly, as you pointed out, that we were facing a very, very difficult economic situation. India was really on the verge of bankruptcy. Major payments, balance of payments crisis. And I think it is to the credit of Narasimha Rao's leadership that today many of us do not even think back to that period as having the period of such an existential crisis. Why? Because it is Narasimha Rao's leadership which enabled us relatively smoothly to adjust to a completely new geopolitical landscape, and also helped us not only to emerge from the economic crisis unscathed, in a sense, but also to set the stage for what became a period of perhaps unprecedentedly high growth rates of the Indian. So I believe that the very smoothness with which that transition was achieved, which is why we don't remember it so much today, this was perhaps one of the greatest contributions.
Absolutely, sir. And I mean, one of the things you said that this was also the end of several strategic partnerships. But as a phoenix rises from the ashes, this is also the beginning of several new partnerships in the field of foreign policy. You served in several Southeast Asian countries. So could you tell us a little about PV Narasimha Rao's policy on the Southeast Asian countries, his LOOKEAST policy?
So, as I said, I mean, the collapse of the Soviet Union meant that India had to, in a sense, readjust quite quickly a whole set of external relations. So, for example, a start was made to really look at the United States of America now as a major. Secondly, also try and re-energize India's relationship with the European Union. But very importantly, the LOOKEAST policy became an extremely important part of our economic outreach, our political because Southeast Asia and the whole of East Asia, including China itself, this was now the most dynamic component of the global economy. So at a time that India was itself changing its economic policy, adopting economic reforms and liberalization, a much more outward-looking economic strategy. In that, LOOKEAST policy fitted in very well, reconnecting with a very dynamic part of the globe.
Absolutely.
And secondly, in strategic terms, because what we were trying to do was to see how we could develop a new network of relationships with Japan, with Southeast Asia, and even with China, to take care of a very new situation which was emerging in this region with the emergence of that. So, LOOKEAST policy in that context became very important.
And I feel that is something that is being leveraged by the current government as well. They have a new LOOKEAST policy, but I feel that that is just building up on the work done by the predecessors. What do you feel about that?
Certainly, I think this government has carried forward the policy that was already in place from before. So we started off with sectoral dialogue partnership with the ASEAN. Then it became a dialogue partner. Then it became a summit partnership, and ultimately in 2012 it became strategic partnership. So this government was able to build upon that by making LOOKEAST at peace policy, suggesting a much more activist policy, which is a very good move to make. But unfortunately, I think what has happened is that, particularly with India's refusal to go ahead with the regional comprehensive economic partnership, which is a major trading arrangement in the region, I think some of that LOOKEAST, or rather the Act-East policy, has, in a sense, lost some of its.
Absolutely, sir. So my final question to you is, you are considered to be one of the most prominent experts when it comes to nuclear policy in the country. Could you tell us a little about Prime Minister Narasimha Rao's contributions in developing India's nuclear policy?
Well, the time that I was there, and as I said, I was also responsible in the Prime Minister's office for atomic energy. My sense is that the Prime Minister continued to be extremely supportive of the atomic energy's initiatives, both in the peaceful uses of nuclear energy, but also in continuing to develop India's, strategic goals. So, if this is true of successive prime ministers who have always been very supportive of the development of capabilities of the atomic energy department, both on the peaceful side as well as on the strategic. Now, I know that there has been a report that the Prime Minister had come to the point where he was about to say yes to testing. I do not have that impression that he was really on the verge of doing that. But certainly in terms of allowing the department and giving it the resources to further develop our strategic program from what had already been achieved by the 1974 peaceful nuclear explosion, that I can certainly testify to. But on the specific issue of whether or not we were close to actually carrying out another nuclear test, this I'm afraid I have not materialized.
Absolutely, sir. And I feel at a certain level there it becomes very, very hard to distinguish between urban myth and fact. So, I mean, one person's story can certainly be another person's fiction. Anyway, sir, it was lovely speaking with you. I want to thank you for being on this show. For our viewers, I want to repeat once again, this is part of a larger series that we're running on former Prime Minister Narasimha Rao. Please find the links of the other videos that we've done in the series in our description. We would strongly suggest that you put in your review suggestions and comments in our YouTube comment box, or directly reach out to us if you have any concerns or questions. Thank you so much, sir, once again for being with us, and we would love to speak with you very, very soon.
Thank you.